All right. Hey, good morning, folks. So we are going to, I'm checking my signals here. We're going to, make sure we're coming through live and clear. We'll go through our intro spiel, and then we'll get to work here for a couple hours this morning. So let's see. I am checking to see if my signal is coming through. Mic check, mic check. See if my signal is coming through. Mic. Sounds like it's A-okay. Good. All right. So I'm going to drop note across the Discords, Twitter, and Reddit that I am up and running. And while I do so, I'm going to go through my intro. So if you have gone through an intro spiel with me before, you can go ahead and skip on ahead if you want. But for folks that are here in real time with us now or new to the channel, hey, Future, what's up, folks? Hey, Ornetico, it's good to see you, my guy. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online. I have been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for the past 5 years, and there are a slew of links in the description down below that'll lead you to different books that I've already created that are published on the DMsGuild.com right now. They all have a generous preview. You can click open the preview. If you're on a desktop, there's going to be a link underneath each book cover and each individual product page that says full preview. If you are on a mobile device, there'll be an eye icon on the right-hand side of the screen. So whether you click on the eye icon or if you are on a desktop, you can just click on the link. It'll pop open a PDF for you guys to take a look at. There's probably about 150 different illustrations across the books that are published there. About 100 books that have my stock art on DMsGuild.com at this point, so you can just search for my name, Phil Kearney, on DMsGuild.com, and you'll find all the different works that people have used. Thanks a lot to the community for supporting all that stuff. And let's see. Let's click through here. Click here. Click here. Okay, cool. So shout out to the Reddit Spelljammer community for supporting all this stuff. There's been a lot of people that are really interested in what we're doing, so I'm really thrilled. This should be publishing probably late January. If you're interested in following on Twitter at Phil Kearney. Thanks a lot for everyone that's sticking around. And best way to support the channel is like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, get notifications when I'm live, which is 7 days a week. Live 6 days a week. I publish content on Sunday. Otherwise, for this project, Spelljammer, hold on, let me give you the right thing. There we go. This is what you should have been seeing. Book cover. Hey, Spelljammer, Combat and Exploration. We created this book cover back around episode 15. We are currently at episode 285. Here's the full playlist of all the content that we created since the start of this thing back in August 2022. We play tested it. It felt good. We built out the mechanics of it. We sent it off to an editor to wordsmith it to kick it on back to us. At which point we can then start dropping on the text into a page. We break it up into digestible ideas on each page, and then therefore you see all these gaps. We take all the gaps. We will then, where are we at right now? Here we are, Squadron combat stuff. Let's do some Squadron combat. So we'll grab this page. We'll drop it here into Photoshop. And then bloop, we start illustrating. So this is where we're at right now. Actually, let's see. Looks like I've had some text updates on this since we last done it. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go through my update process, which is delete the background so it's transparent. You can see here on these illustrations from Saturday how we lay the artwork in as a separate layer above the background but behind the text. So we'll drop down here onto the page. We will file and export. I'm using Microsoft Word to do this stuff. So we're starting a new page of art today. So let's just make sure everything is current. So let's see, interior pages, combat, and this is going to be page 40. And we'll go to the options, and we'll go with the current page of the document only with no notations. And then we can publish, and it'll pop open as a PDF. True as sin. Then we will undo deleting the background so that we don't have to go through the pain effort of doing that again. What a pain in the ass. We'll then, let's see, here's the text layer that we're working with. So we make that disappear. We'll go to File, Open, New File. We're in the combat section already, and there's our PDF. So let's prop that open. There, I can now select all that text. I can copy it. I can drop down to the text layer. I can paste into place by doing a Control Shift Z, and that the text, as long as the origin file and the destination file have the same pixel dimensions, it'll automatically drop the text into the proper place. So that's why I can extract it as a PDF with a transparent background, be able to just copy and then click paste into position. And as you can see, it falls perfectly into position. So the really cool thing about being able to work in Photoshop back and forth like this, and as I understand it, InDesign has access to similar functionality. But as I can just choose to I can just choose to grab and punt the text out of the way to see if I think it should fit someplace else. And if it does, well then you see I can replace ship with. So let's do this here and here and then here to. I can rearrange the text to see if there's a better way for me to frame the illustration. Ships with slashing rams. So the thing about squadrons is that you're commanding multiple ships at the same time, but if they don't all have the same type of weapons, when you're making that type of weapon attack, only ships with the appropriate weapons can actually contribute to that attack. And if anyone that checked out the Saturday Develop stream was seeing me build out the diagrams for calculating squadron damage based on the number of ships and how big they are. That's the same, coincidentally, that's the same kind of basic mechanic that I use for the in-command system for calculating how much damage the size of troops. Basically a swarm, but we've converted the swarm into a single fused entity that in this game is framed as a ship, but it also could be a kaiju, or it could be a battalion of 300 troops. It just depends on how you want to frame it, but essentially the mechanics are the same for all of them. So, hold on real quick. Slashing rams. So yeah, that more elegantly fits the curve of the picture. So we can now go back to our document and resculpt the text. There we go. Now everything lines up nicely. So I'll save that as the most recent version of the document. It now is reflecting what we have down in the piece here. I can merge these three down. Rename you text as text. Perfect. I'm going to get rid of the lock real quick so I can occupied. Yeah. A little manic there, Phil. Let's just zoom in and make life easier. There's some weirdness going on. Hold on. Thank you. System was locked up there for a second. Very strange. I've been having some unusual behavior, I think, from my CPU lately. It's acting a little fidgety. I'm wondering if it's not in the process of breaking very slowly. Luckily, I back up daily on an external solid state drive, so it has very low risk of breaking. I can swap it out every couple of years. There. Okay, so that's roughly. Let's get that straightened up. Some rough spacing there. There we go. Better. Honetico, man, what you got going on, dude? What's going on with you, man? So we got the ship. You got Blur. Where's the... What you got going on? Oh, this is trash. Right. Trash. This is Galleon. And this is Arrow. Arrow should be broken down into... Oh, wait. I see that text. Hold on, buddy. Arrow. There we go. Not much. Hold on. Let me get my screen in place here. Hey, right on, my guy. Hopefully the holidays are treating you nicely. I'm on vacation this week. So I don't have a 2-hour curfew this morning. I can surf for a while. We'll see what my endurance does, but my current plan is to punch out some Spelljammer Art here for now. Slip off screen to take care of home stuff, and maybe do some page layout for the Lattice Araxis appendix at the back end of this book. That's coming along nicely. I was struggling with it for a while, but it's shaping up, so everything should be fine on that front. I'm pretty happy. And then come back on in the afternoon to I don't know what we're gonna do. Probably some Eberron art. And then I think tomorrow, tomorrow morning again, I'll have a few hours that I'll spend on Spelljammer in the morning. Probably, this piece in particular, and then we'll work on Martial Powers, the Rubble Belt crawl campaign build for playtesting. That's what we'll work on tomorrow afternoon, and I'll have more time off screen to continue developing. Lattice Araxis is like the last component. So so here's what we need to do. After this, we have one more combat illustration, and then we have 4 landscape illustrations for different environments and planets in a random system generator. I'm anticipating maybe finishing those. If I decide to do all those pictures on screen, should probably take about 2 weeks for me to finish those 4. I think between this one and the last combat illustration, that will take about 2 weeks as well. So that's going to put me at the very tail end of January of having these pieces completed. Meanwhile, but that'll finish all the planned illustrations for the entire book. However, I'm currently doing page layouts for Light of Xeraxis, and my challenge before was having a consistent language that I'd be able to use to express the shit, like building stat blocks, since I have to fabricate my own stat blocks, and it's been a challenge with providing the right amount of information without holding people's hands, but providing stuff that's easy, quality of life, like. Since a ship's armor class is going to be based on intelligence or dexterity of the pilot when I have an NPC piloting a ship, such as Nyogi or elves during the adventure, then obviously I want to track down and add that information as sort of an assumed base for what a ship is going to be able to do during combat in the adventure. So I've parsed out all that stuff, and I think I finally have a format that is providing the base stat blocks that you need for ship functionality only, because you already get the stat blocks with Light of Xeraxis for how the creatures, their stats for in combat on deck at the 5-foot scale, because that's the only scale of combat that Wizards has created so far for 5e. So naturally that information is just part of the adventure, as you would assume any adventure would be. So I didn't have to do the entire stat block for all of the creatures and just keep it strictly to what are they doing with the ship. So that helped. That greatly reduced the amount of space that the stat blocks needed. and now there's concise information about like what do they do during combat, like a 3-sentence manifesto of what each NPC will do using their action economy as on the roles of the ship as a captain, like as a commander, siege commander, squadron commander, pilot, or a support character, providing basic information about how they're going to dice up their action economy as a team to make ship weapons and combat work against the characters. And I think I found a way to consolidate that as well, and build a little bit of a space that, here, I'll show you guys real quick. I'm talking about it a lot. This isn't stuff that's official yet. It's just work in progress. So once we get this thing hammered out, it should look pretty damn good, but it's still a little rough. So we'll see how it shakes out. Oop, wrong document. Let me bounce to the document. Appendix 2, Lazaraxis. So here's our format so far. I don't even have the page background dropped in, but we have the main appendix. We have part 1, chapter, and then chapter title. This is a conversion guide, which is allowed on DMsGuild.com. If you're not just retyping the adventure with updated 5e language, you can take something that already has been published by WotC and update it or modify it. And so the best way to do that is just reference the chain of titles that are throughout the actual adventure. So this is just me cascading through the different sections of the book. And as we run into areas that have changes because of what we have in this book, this is how it gets converted. So this is a very simple stat block. Moon Dancer is a 3x3 vessel. Space Galleon is made of light material wood, which gives you an AC 13 plus pilot dex, because your characters should be piloting the ship during combat. So it's on your character. It's 13. It's light materials. 13 plus your dex or int. That's your character. So the strength and constitution is a base +1 unless whoever's piloting's stat is higher. And then hit points is 260, and damage reduction for the vessel is 10. So that's the only real stat block you need. Otherwise, it's just a ship, right? So then you have the 3 ballista that it fires, and it also has 3 harpoon flingers. It has second-rank commoners. The commoner stat block is only important if you're boarding at the 5-foot scale in combat, which Lazaraxis, the adventure this is built off of, already has for you. So I don't need to republish that content, and DMsGuild prefers that I don't. So harpoon flingers, second line. So we're providing the rank of the crew and the reload rate for the weapons as a result of the rank and the type of weapon. So pretty straightforward stuff there. The amount of ammunition to make life easy. And then when we can then have plenty of space here to drop in an illustration of the Moon Dancer, a 3x3 standard space galleon. So we have the I actually need to open up the ship stuff anyway. So hold on real quick. Let's just crack open the vessels that we have. Let's go to combat log, system generator, production, tokens. Ships, vessel tokens. I actually need a space galleon, so there we go. Let's just go fetch. Duplicate over to. Okay, I can get rid of this now. No. So in this space here, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this 6-line height space from the title down to the DR, I've got this square that I can basically drop this token of this 3x3 space for the space galleon into that spot. Like, here you go, it's the Moon Dancer. And then for the ballista, we have the different. Takes time with timer. So we have the ballista, or zoom out. We have the ballistas and the catapults and the harpoon flingers. So we have them at higher resolution than what they're depicted here. So we can drop in the ballista icon here and the harpoon flinger icon here. And then we have space. We have a little pinch of space down here to be able to have the Actually, that's such a small pinch of space. I can just leave that as dead space. But over here we have the token that we did for the NPCs already back like around episode, I want to say episode 120, maybe it was 90, somewhere around there. But there's like 8 lines here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's 8 lines here for me to drop the square token for Captain Sartell. There's a equal size square for the stat block here for Flapjack, the Flumph. So we can put his token here. So and then we drop down here to the Dark Stars, so we can put the 4x4 Star Moth token that we have here. We can drop that into this space. And then we have a slashing ram, which will just be able to focus in on the front end of this nose. And then the ballista, the mangonels, the harpoon flingers, and the Eldritch cannon. We can illustrate all of those with their separate icons at high resolution. And then we drop down to the Dark Star crew themselves. And it has that same format, so we can put the Astral Elf Warrior here, the Astral Star Priest Altura illustration that we produced, as well as the Elf Warrior illustrations here again in duplicate. And then the Plasmoid Explorer illustration that we produced. So we have all the tokens already. And this is a large enough space here that as we're engaged, this is okay, so conducting the encounter. Attack of the Star Moth is chapter 2. So when elves attack, replacement blurb about the attack, the elves approaching using the mechanics that we use for ship movement and combat distance during the initial distance during initiative. Our stat block again for the Star Moth ship, as well as each character and their tactics. For example, Captain Asmodean will use 2 attacks and a bonus action during the first round of combat to command each ballista crew to load and fire towing cables, which have a reload score of 4 each. If any hit, the Dark Star can close distance to board the Moondancer before the Space Galleon can escape. If all miss, Captain Asmodean repeats towing cable attacks while the Moondancer remains within range. And if you go back up to the weapon, here we got harpoon flingers. No, nope, not mangonel. There we go, ballistae. We have 3 grappling bolts each with a 500-foot grappling cable. Oops, that's supposed to be 1,500. Thank you. So I'll be able to fire at beyond 500 feet with disadvantage, but if it hits, it's a grappling cable. So until the target ship uses an action to break free of the grapple, you've basically got a towing cable attached to the enemy ship, or in this case, the player's galleon. There you go. And while it remains, until your team uses the action economy to break free of that grapple, and there can be 3 grapple hits off of that 1 round of shots that Asmodean fires. That's 3 separate actions that required to break yourself free from that. Meanwhile, the ship can close within 1 round. So you've basically got, if those hit, you've got 1 round to do something about it. And if you can't resolve all of the grappling, then the Star Moth closes distance, and then it becomes the adventure as intended, with them boarding your ship and attacking. But if your ship is capable of breaking free of the grapple, then you can begin a pursuit. And then the ship will pursue you, and it has procedure on drawing more attention from other ships to have other ships come after you along with it. If you win the battle, it goes into, you can interrogate them about what's going on. If you lose the battle, they take the Sartell aboard to interrogate because they think she's part of Garganhale's pirate fleet. So they have questions for her, and honestly, they let her go after a while. It's like, we don't have a problem with you leaving the planet. We think you're part of pirates, which now becomes foreshadowing for what goes on with Garganhale in Act 4, and it gives you like, hey, Sartell, what's going on? It's like, I know about those guys. I ain't got nothing to do with those dudes, man. So when you get to Rock of Brawl and you head out to Topola, and from Topola you find the connection to Garganhale, it's like, oh, we already know who you are, and we already know the elves fucking hate you. So when you start off that encounter, you have information about who this guy is, so you can start framing reference, whatever conversation point he is about, hey, my fleet got wrecked. I'm a noble brigand privateer attempting to stop the elves. It's like, well, we know for a fact the elves just fucked our planet, so we're kind of on Team Garganhale now, and now you're building an ally out of Garganhale for the rest of the adventure, and it's not reliant on some loose connection from from Topola. He'll also be able to expedite your ability to get to the sphere, to get to the Zaraxis system, because he's been there before, so his familiarity allows him to navigate the ship faster through the astral from wherever they go to Zaraxis. So yeah, that's what we're doing here, and the way that it's built, so this is laying out. This is what the adventure is. So we have this block of space here. It's just easy for us to slap down a 10 by 10 map grid and put the Starmoth and put the Galleon on the ship. And that's your battle map. Have fun. And until your team breaks away and increases distance, you don't need to worry about a 500-foot scale map. But when you do, it's just, you just take these bigger tokens on and you put the little tokens on instead. So you swap out the scale by swapping out the ships. Since there's only 2 of them, the only thing that really matters is what's the relative distance between the 2 of you as you're trying to flee to the Rock of Brawl to get the hell away from the elves. While the elves want to close distance, grapple you, pull you in. It's like, hey, why are you running? It's like, well, you're nuking our fucking planet. It's like, okay, well, fair point. But we had these questions for you. So like, that's the conversation that happens there. It's like you get a real good hate for the elves. And if you defeat the elves, there's other elves in the region. So if that ship goes down, you'll have a chance of attracting other Star Moths. And if the challenge was too easy for you to defeat this single Star Moth, but just because your team fucking rocked it, it's like, great, now there's going to be patrols showing up pissed off that you're fucking with their ships. So now you're going to have to fight 2, potentially 3 Star Moths, depending on how strong your team is when you do this. So it starts off very, very simple, but it escalates. If that one ship wasn't enough of a challenge, the ability to defeat that ship becomes the next challenge. And that's kind of an open battlefield sort of dynamic, where when you have troops and you've got a battalion that's going through a region and is dealing damage, it becomes it becomes a boss that you basically want to go down and conquer. It's like Sauron's marching through your troops and knocking people down 15 at a time with a mace swing. You gotta drop that dude fast so he becomes your mini boss, right? Kind of like in Tower Defenders when the kaiju comes along. But it's that same dynamic. You become that challenge because you're disrupting their control of the space, like the literal space. So you attract more attention. But if it's not if you're overwhelmed or evenly matched with that Star Moth, you're not attracting other attention. The Star Moth is currently resolving it as far as their orrery is concerned, because they're tens of thousands of miles away from you when you get blipped on their screen that they're fucking with something. But as long as both of those blips are staying strong, they've got communications with each other, and they're like, we're not concerned yet. But if you overwhelm that Star Moth and it starts acting erratically, like, why is it flying with the Galleon to the Rock of Brawl, I wonder? That is cause to give pursuit, and then you use pursuit mechanics to get chased down. And now you have 2 or 3 Star Moths that are trying to grapple your Galleon ship and the Star Moth that you stole, and it just becomes the same battle but a larger scale. So anyway, these are ideas. So we're trying to figure out how to put things together, and without diving too so far into detail that we're holding people's hands during this process. Just giving them enough information and guidance on the mechanics for them to be able to, know how what the intent is and what tactics are most efficient for doing that, but not boxing in like, this is what they want to do, this is the tools they have to do it. If everything goes wrong, improvise. Like, that's just adventuring in general. So that's the kind of guidance that we're trying to give. So we're sussing that out, and right now it's a good 30-page document, but we've got a lot of holes that we've carved into this thing, just to be able to make space for ourselves to use that as a workbench. But we're working on it. So if everything goes according to plan, the only illustrations that we need in the book are tokens, maps that we already have built, or small ship combat diagrams on 10 by 10 or 10 by 15 grids. And so the assets should be easy to build. And if I continue working on this 1 page a day from now to the end of the month, that should line up with finishing the illustrations, and I can get this thing kicked out the door before January 31. If I hit any speed bumps along the way, it might be the first or second week of February. But then on top of that, I want to make sure I have all the ship vessels cut into the 10 by 10 grid spaces so that it's easy to do ship-to-ship combat, which means I'll need to do a vector. I'll have to do a vector screening of the ship here because it looks pretty good at the scale, and it still looks pretty good about here is when it starts to break down in pixels. So this is about as close of a vector image I want to get to, but this is only about, what, 20 feet wide? That's actually decent resolution. So I should be able to vector and expand size. It's going to have to get expanded basically 10 times size. So vectors should be good to do that with this level of resolution. And then I can just swap out all the weapon tokens with the high resolution tokens that we actually have to drop them in their place to overlay what will become very pixelated images over high resolution. So we have a plan to get it in place. It's just that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 16 ships here that we have to do that conversion. But it's just manufacturing new tokens. But then there's also the packaging. So if things don't go crackerjack perfect for all my shit offline and online, we're gonna spill into February. So, but I'm okay with it. I don't want to rush everything. I just want to make sure I'm providing everything that I've promised and everything I'm excited about sharing, and make sure that it's done right instead of hitting a specific deadline. But I think we're going to be in that process. God's willing, like by around January 20th, we should be in that production pipeline, assuming everything runs smoothly. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and drop this out of the way. We are currently pulling together assets for this new illustration. So we want to get the craft tokens out so that we can grab up. There it is, an up close of the arrow. So we can duplicate this group and drop it into the illustration. This should be present. Yep, they're both present. Perfect. So we can drop this out of view. And now I'm going to go fishing. Let's go to D&D Beyond. Dismiss. Let's pan back. I want to go grab ship art. So I'm going to go to Spelljammer. And let's go grab our ship. So that wasn't very precise. Whatever. Bop, bop, bop. That's not much of an illustration. Whatever. Let's just screen grab it real quick. Mad shout to the WotC artists. You are the cream of the crop. There we go. So when you don't see color, the best way for me to be able to make sure I can color accurately is to steal color samples off of the illustration. So I can use the RGB up here in the right hand corner for me to be able to reference and grab. See the RGB, I can see the mild blue shift here. The sails, I can use these colors, and even to an extent the sky if I wanted to, and then use that for this ship and the sky as a backwash, and then just pull the colors off of this arrow and borrow from here if I want to. Yeah, this has got a strong purple to it, but out here it's a little yeah, just a little tilted blue. So I can borrow some of this deck coloring if I wanted to, but the galleon that we just grabbed the illustration for should probably just be fine. So the illustration here is an example of, oh my god, the angle is almost proper too. Oh, you're making it easy on me, wizards. Thank you. So the illustration here is squadrons of arrow ships strafing and cutting the masts of this galleon ship. So they're little fighter craft. Their entire wing is a giant slashing blade. So the size of the craft, it only does 2d8 damage when it makes a melee attack, but when it's a ramming attack as a slashing weapon, it does It does 68 damage. It does triple damage on a ram, as opposed to like a normal like bludgeoning ram or a piercing ram does double damage on hit. But like a bludgeoning ram will automatically scuttle a ship, like automatically scuttles the target, knocking them off their gravity plane, and causing everyone aboard to make a saving throw versus falling damage. I love scuttling; it's fucking cool. But in like the squid ship and a lot of other ships have piercing rams that they'll deal double damage and initiate a grapple with the number of with basically based on the size of the ship that's ramming with the piercing attack. And now you're automatically pierced, so you're grappled, so you can't escape, and that's what expedites melee combat. But slashing rams, they just deal triple damage. Now they don't have any special feature that goes along with it. But a slashing ram can use a bonus action. You can always use a bonus action after a successful attack. You can always attempt to scuttle a craft after a successful hit. So I can move in with an arrow. I can use just an attack action as a pilot to initiate a ram. The slashing ram is only a 15-foot vessel, 5, 10, 15-foot space. So they're super small, like just like rocket jockeys, basically with a mounted harpoon flinger by itself. It does 2d8 damage. This is the 500 gold piece fighter craft saddle that basically you sit in on these ships, and it's basically like it's like an oversized skidoo with a giant blade along each edge. So it'll deal, since the size of the craft is 15, which is 1, 2, 3. It's like 1, 2 squares, like anything up to 10 feet does d8 damage. No ships are 10 feet. They're at least 15 feet in size. So 15, 20 is 2d8 damage. 5 and 6 squares, or 25 to 30 feet, that's 3d8 damage. And this is just the base melee damage. So if this was the shape of a robot, like a 15-foot tall robot that your character was piloting, instead of dealing that slashing damage, it would just instead be a fucking sword. The thing would have 2 arms. It'd be holding a sword. The sword would do 2d8 damage. But I'd be able to charge you with it as a move action and hit you with the sword for doing 6d8 damage on impact. So this 15-foot mecha has got some teeth to it, but it also has on its like if I was to do a mecha out of this, shit. I'm on a real tangent right now, so don't mind me. But if I were to make this, okay, so these things are 15 by 15. That's the size of an aerocraft. So, and it's got its mounted harpoon flinger there, and it's got its pilot saddle here, and so that's basically the format of an aero ship. If I were to make a mecha out of this, it'd still be in the 15-foot space, but now I've got like a Hulkbuster helm that I'm going to sit inside of as a pilot using my saddle. Here in front of me is going to be my weapon box. So I've basically got a mecha suit here that's got an in-chest cannon. It's going to have 2 arms, and it's going to have a big fucking blade. That big fucking blade is going to do 2d8 slashing damage on hit, plus since it's a melee, since it's a weapon melee style, I would add whatever the like if you're using intelligence for your piloting or dexterity, or if you have a feat that lets you modify whatever stat it is that you want to use. But anyway, regardless, it'd be 2d8 plus stat damage, and you can start applying feats to it. Like if you have the slasher feat, you could apply it to the weapon. And then if you use the charge action, it does 68 damage. You've got the in-chest cannon that does 2d8 damage, 2d8 piercing damage on hit, and you've got a second arm. If you want to pick up a shield, then you can up your armor class like you would normally up it. If we're going to make it steel instead of wood, it'd have an AC 18. If you want to go for like a wood plus metal half plate affair, it'd be AC 15 plus dex or int cap of +2. So this thing caps out an AC 17. Heavy armor goes to AC 18, but your stats don't modify it. And then light material like ceramics, crystal, and light wood frames has an AC of 13 plus your dex or your int bonus up to a max of 18. So it just depends on how you want to stat it out. It all basically floats around that AC 17, 18 ballpark. And then but the difference is
Wood has a damage reduction, doesn't have damage reduction. Light materials at this scale, no damage reduction. Medium armor, that would cap an AC 17, has damage reduction of 5. And metal that has a base 18, that doesn't have any modifiers, it has a damage resistance of 10. It also has the heaviest weight, so it's the most inconvenient and clumsiest, and you don't get bonuses to your dexterity and like your reflexes and your dexterity checks like you would. So it's a slower frame, but you have your armed weapon attack, you've got your 15-foot frame, you've got your ranged attack. You effectively just built yourself a mecha just by reskinning or reflavoring what the 15-foot aerocraft is into a battloid form. So this becomes your 15-foot by 15-foot giant slayer. So if you wanted to go do the adventure that they have, like the lava fire giant adventure in the Bigby's Might of the Giants, you could use that this quick conversation. This thing has 30 hit points, so it's going to be able to take, like, you have to use your own hit points if you want to keep this mecha alive, but that mecha can take up to 30 hit points for you if necessary before it becomes disabled and you have to spend time with spells to repair it, or a repair crew with tinkering tools and raw materials worth half its cost. So, which we lay out in the book. But yeah, you can build these things, and if you're like 10th level characters that are fighting these fire giants, which I believe is the level of the encounter they have it scheduled at, your barbarian in a giant buster is going to have, 10th levels of barbarian? He's probably going to have around 130, 120 hit points. So basically he's protecting the giant buster armor from being destroyed, not the other way around. But if you had first level characters that are fighting ogres and stuff and these sort of things, that's decent, man. It's like 30 plus your 10, so that's 40 hit points. And it's got the damage reduction kicker on it, so it helps mitigate like an ogre does 18 points of damage normally on a hit with a club. So it's going to basically reduce its damage. If you're in full metal, it's going to reduce that down to a D8 against first level characters with an extra 30 hit point padding. It's going to basically let one character take on 2 ogres. So if you want to do like a mecha suit versus ogre tribe, you could do it at first or second level pretty easily. But that's just me throwing around math real quick, because obviously once this book is published, I really want to start doing mecha versus kaiju, and we already have all the mechanics in this book to do it. But that was just some quick math about like how that shit works. So if you have all these ships, so if you have 3 of these ships flying together in a squadron, they're going to be doing, they'd be doing 1, 2, 3. There's 3 ships here, so they would be doing 6. Yeah, they'd be doing 68 damage on their own, and then you could triple those dice on a slashing attack, so it can actually do a comparable amount of damage. This galleon has 260 hit points. And these guys are basically upping themselves to about D6 times 10 damage when they attack. That's the same firepower as a catapult. So they're able to strafe and attack this ship. They have the advantage of having anti-personnel mounted weapons, so they can take shots at individual characters that try to do something about it from over the side of the ship. Otherwise, they can just strafe the galleon and deal slashing damage each round in passing. Close distance ram, and then surge away so you can get some distance and flip back around. So you have like this little electron cloud of slashing ships that are slowly slashing away the damage on the craft until it drops to 0 and they can loot it. And the characters then basically become stuck aboard a derelict vessel until they can get it repaired enough to be able to fire up the power and fly off again. Meanwhile, they have 3 squadrons of Burf. I'm pressing buttons here. Hold on. There we go. We got 1, 2, 3 squadrons here. One's attacking the hull, and the other 2 are attacking the rigging, and the third one is coming through for a third attack. You've got 9 aerocrafts that are going to shred this ship if you don't do something about it. Luckily, they're fucking small, so you can take shots at them with your siege weapons at disadvantage to hit one of them. But as long as they're flying in formation like this, the commander that's the defending commander of this squadron gets to decide how the damage from that catapult hit gets distributed to the ships that are in the squadron. So you can wing a couple of them on the way by and deal just fragment damage to some of them as you want to split it up. So you have some durability. It's basically a squadron of 90 hit points, plus the crewmen that are flying the craft to help soak damage for it themselves. But first rank crewmen don't have more than 10 hit points, so they're practically worthless as far as aside from the action economy that they provide. They can't tank for the craft. But an arrow craft costs maybe 1,500 gold to build one, and then the 500 gold piece for the pilot saddle, and then the mounted weapon, the harpoon flinger is like another 150 gold. So it's like 2,000, like 2,500 gold. You can have an arrow fighter craft that can fly 1,000,000 miles per day and slash up ships. They're really cheap and small and easy to disperse off of craft. So you can have a squadron of these hanging on the belly of your Scorpion real easily to have an escort fleet of small fighter craft that just absolutely shred the deck of, because they have the mounted weapons. They can strafe by and potentially kill a crew member in one shot, because crew members generally don't have more than 10 unless you have escalated higher rank crew members that are gaining higher rank by CR, so they have a larger hit point pool themselves. But if they don't, they just get picked apart, and every time you lose a crew member, the reload score on your siege weapon increases by 1. So it becomes more and more difficult for you to reload your weapons consistently. So small clouds of fighter craft are really a big threat to vessels because they eat up your action economy. You have to take turns and to take shots at them that might not knock them out. Meanwhile, they're able to use squadron coordinated attacks to be able to do significant damage to the whole of the ship, and use the rest of their action economy to take shots at the crew that are manning the weapons. So they're actually pretty fucking scary, and but they're easy to knock out of the sky. But they're like goblins. They're super cheap to build, and just because you knock out a ship doesn't mean the crew that were on that ship are dead. It just means that a ship is knocked out. So if they're already inside of your air bubble, you don't get rid of them. They just are just going to jump off their ship and float to the deck and board your ship and start hacking away at your crew with swords. So even if you have to get them out of your space. You got to get enough distance away from them to then knock them out, so that the crew has to hang on to their ship, otherwise they lose their air. If they stay attached, if they stay in their airship's bubble, it'll have a day of air for them. They have plenty of time to get rescued by their mothership if they pull away from the attack, or potentially get captured and questioned. But that starts falling back to older school ideas about warfare and capturing crew. If you're doing ship-to-ship combat, you can almost always capture crew, which then motivates a social encounter to then start throwing dice around as exploration during insight and interrogations. So I swear I'll get to start on the illustration here in a second. I geek out on this shit because it's fucking cool. I wouldn't talk about it so much if I didn't think it was so neat, I promise you. I am a dork, I know it, so don't mind me. Let's merge that down. Here is our reference folder now, so let's peel that out up to here. So what I really need to be doing right now is cleanup. I need to be doing line cleanup. So let's stop with all the ado and get into here. Let's just merge those down and create a new one here. We'll drop this out like that. Fade to black. Circle. Smudge. Circle. Go. All right, cool. So let's see. This is 1 pixel. This is a 1 pixel line here. That is a line that is large enough to express these fighter craft. That's the basic triangle shape of the craft. And now we get to build around it. basically, yeah. Now, we established on the earlier page when we were illustrating the mounted weapons, the Eldritch Cannon next to the Harpoon Flinger on the deck of the ship, we've already established what the look of Harpoon Flingers are. So when I put them in this illustration here, later in the book, they'll have image recognition. There we go. Yep, cheap little 2,000 gold fighter craft. It'll take you to the moon in a couple hours. Or it's like a 30-minute journey from Toril to the Tears of Saloon. So it's a really, I mean, they can get up to 50 feet in size, but these little go cycles are little aerocraft. They're practical little planet jumpers. You got to get to, we got a perspective going here. There we go. They're cool little craft. I'm really looking forward to Mecha. God fucking damn, that's gonna be so cool. So I can basically build all these ideas here on DMsGuild and lean into the IP as I figure out how all this stuff curves together. And then I can eventually just take all the ideas and then rebuild them into whatever game system I want that's independent, or build my own, and or just stay with 5e and do a Creative Commons. But as soon as I have enough momentum to be able to successfully do Kickstarters, I can start taking these ideas and filing all the serial numbers off of it and rebuilding it with different language so that it's still respectful of the DMsGuild version of the ideas. But you can't copyright ideas. You can only copyright how you express the ideas. So after I get enough practice in with the different stuff that we have here, using Wizards IPs, because that's what inspires all this stuff. So give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, But once I'm done with that, I'll be able to take these ideas and, I don't know, build a Warframe RPG. Or I'm really a big geek about AI personalities, and that's how I depict all my Warforged. So I have a sort of space opera, Gundam Evangelion sort of idea about a space opera role-playing game with AI entities instead of people. So you'd have social and personality traits that are just simply the quirks of your own AI, but you're downloading into different mecha machinery to be able to perform the tasks that you have. So there's this ether layer where you're communicating and interacting with your different members of your party at a meta level, while you're in the physical environment without actually at personal risk. So your personality is essentially immortal because you're just making copies of yourself when you download into a piece of machinery. And if you're successful in the mission, you can reload the results and have that as experience that you gain. But if you fail the mission, then you don't gain any experience. But you can still get fragments of the live play feed that you gain back to your central core, so you can see what was happening. So when you attempt the task again, you'll know why you went wrong before. But the defense systems that you'll be combating will also have similar cognizance. So every time you fail a challenge, your opponent will become more difficult because it will be able to adapt to the things that you've done in the past. And that's the kind of a role-playing game I want to develop. That's a very Ghost in the Shell, cybertech sort of approach. But I want to maintain this spiritual aspect of it. So I think like the angel, like the AI is like immortal angel sort of entities that you play. I think that'll be a fun take on it, and it changes the focuses of encounters. Like in first edition D&D, you only got experience points for gold. You didn't get any experience points for killing monsters. In fact, killing monsters was often the worst way to find a solution. Like if you could find a way around that monster, or talk your way out of that monster, or bribe that monster out of the way and be able to end up with a net gain versus trying to gain no expenditure of resources but just fight it and beat it, you could end up dead. And if you don't end up dead, you could end up in the hospital for 3 weeks because you only got 1 hit point back per day in first edition. So if you fought and you fucked up, you were down, which is why they had you run multiple characters at the same time, so that you could afford to take risks like that. And if you survive them, then you can heal and come back and try again later on. Meanwhile, you're going to use other characters to advance whatever your team's goal is. So that Dominion style, like that, that platoon style of play where you have multiple characters in your roster, is very, very old school feeling. And that's my favorite style of game, where you can risk, like, your personality, your background story, your drama issues with your family don't matter nearly as much as what is the goals of the team and what role can you play during the current encounters so that you can help your team succeed. So it makes the entire adventure more of a puzzle of how do we want to allocate resources and roles of engagement to overcome the heist or the siege or the assassination mission, whatever it is that whatever it is that you're pursuing. Slide away from character story and more into XCOM style tactical stuff. And if you succeed, then you get a nugget of story. Like every time you gain a level, you get to add a paragraph to your character's background so they can become more and more of a real person to you as they earn more and more success. If they die right away, who cares who they were? You don't want to waste your good shit on somebody that gets X'd. You want to save your good content for winners that stay alive. So you can motivate yourself in having good tactics by, if you have a cool character backstory that you think might weave into whatever it is that you guys got going on, fucking stay alive and tell the story. I like that. I like that attitude because that's just it takes all the burden off of the DM from having to build your backstory into the story, into the adventure, and now it becomes the player's responsibility to craft their backstory into what their adventuring is doing. I've talked about this before, but like if you end up focusing attention on fighting bandits, it doesn't really matter if your character's backstory is that your mother left you for a monk monastery, if you're never going to get to a monk monastery because the entire campaign is about fighting pirates now. Like you don't want to cut yourself off from coolness. You want to have your character have a fluid background so that as the story builds, it gives you an excuse to weave your character into the fabric of what's going on, so you can force the game to become more relevant to your characters and their backstory, and you can actually express some sort of growth and resolution because you're evolving with where the adventure is going, because you're staying fluid with your space and not caring about what your background is, being more interested in what's the background of who these characters are becoming. It's a different approach. It's less. It's more improv in style. It's less story writing. My biggest hate about backstories with characters assumed coming into a background is that you obviously want to write fan fiction about this character you like, but you aren't caring about the campaign. You should have a blank slate walking into the campaign, and you don't earn backstory until your character survives long enough to tell it. Like, no one cares who the fuck you are until you get powerful enough to start attracting soldiers to you. It's like, who are you? What are you all about? It's like, now you can start embellishing your background because you've earned the notoriety. You're actually becoming a presence in the game. Your backstory should be told at that point, and it can become important. That's a very different, it's a very old school style of gaming, and it started falling apart with the Dragonlance the Dragonlance adventures, mirroring the novels. It's just a very different style of play, but I like cooperative games, and I view backgrounds, prefabricated backgrounds. I view those as competitive, where you're attempting to get what you want over what other people have, which is, I want my storyline to make sense in this adventure, so I want screen time spent on my character. But if you don't have any backstory when you go into the adventure, all of the adventuring that you have with your compatriots, you have the opportunity to build a shared experience and retcon. Since there is no history, you can retcon in how your characters naturally just weave together to this point in the adventure where they're an inseparable team that will die for each other. But it would have started off frayed at the very beginning. But as you move forward in the campaign, you can move further back in your character's history to firm up and build and knot those roots together so you're always a cohesive team. It's just this adventure is a slice of life of what that team is capable of being in this adventure. It's a very, very different mentality from where 5e currently is at, but I think it's far more rewarding as a story environment as a whole, because again, I can't say it enough. The challenge of role playing is you'll roll a random background and here's some of the bullshit that's in your history, but don't worry about what any of that stuff means until you start seeing what the adventure is, so you can weave those elements together. But you'll know from your role that you once had some sort of foul betrayal that you are bearing guilt for. So that sets you off from the beginning to start looking for something in the current adventure that might lean towards suggesting that you had some sort of betrayal that may have led to the current problems. And when you identify it and you gain your levels, like, yeah, I want to lock this variable in now. This is where my guilt is coming from, and that's why I'm on this team. And that becomes part of the shared experience of the rest of the team, of your character evolving emotionally as part of the level up experience. So anyway, I think that's where I'm going with an independent role-playing game at some point in the future. And I'm pretty happy with it. Like, I don't need to have detail better than this. This guy's pretty good. I'm going to put some skin on him. Flesh out this form just a touch. And then we'll move on to the next one. God damn, I am literally living the dream right now. Like, if I get to a point where I can actually kickstart stuff like that, then this is literally what I would be doing. Get enough money so that I could feed myself for the next 6 months while I build a thing and hire a crew and just jam out art and talk about whatever it is that we're going to put in that book, and then make it so. Put it up on the Discord server for folks to play test it, and if it comes back strong, we'll find an editor to lay it out, and then we'll start doing art. Build the thing out, make a PDF. Maybe if there's enough support, look at doing a print on demand if people care. Just build shit. Just build shit and make it. Make it fucking fun. I think Lancer has open license, so maybe I'll find myself in the Lancer space building things like this.
I understand it's more 4E than 5E, but all my mechanics convert over to anything that throws a D20. So maybe my first Kickstarter project should be building Lancer into my scaling mecha system, kaiju system, then build out the squad, build out the organization, and like maybe I can take my specialist mechanics and make that into a very low grade individual character that could have more skin, literally running around outside of the Lancer mecha. So you can have like super basic resource style characters that can perform tasks too small to execute inside of the Lancer unit, but then use my mechanics to build out a different way of expressing Lancers while still having all the Lancer resources available as a conversion. There's potential there. It might just be I might just enjoy just building out an independent 5e separately from it, though. We'll see. We'll see where it ends up going. There's a lot of potential. There. Let's do that. Cool. Let's move on to the next one. That's the ideas anyway. That's what I'm thinking about. Nope, I'm trying to find the right triangle here. Is that the right one? That might be right. Do that. Now let's grab this. I want to create the underbelly. Like that. Like that. Yeah, about like that. I know, just erase the overlapping bits. There we go. Big shout out and thanks to all the new subscribers out there. We picked up a slew of people over the holiday. That's the best gift I could have possibly ever gotten. So thanks everyone. We had posted 2 videos as I had intended. One was about ship morale and mutinies and how to prevent them or resolve them. And the other one was about scaling movement both in and out of atmosphere. So obviously a lot of this book
is built around scaling in size, distance, and time. So that's a pretty important topic of conversation, but it's really fun in the context of, you know, in orbit, in atmosphere. What am I trying to say? Flying inside the atmosphere from one location to another. Considering how small the distance is involved in scale, that's it's the opposite of like these massive distances between worlds and systems. It's on the same world. It's like everything's right over there. It only takes just like a few minutes to get from one place to another when you're on a spelljamming ship. So it really changes the approach to your sense of scale and communities inside of a game that allows for airship travel like that. In a campaign of that styling, distant locations isn't so much about slowing your characters down. It's about allowing enough space narratively for such catastrophic things to exist in more than one location at once. Like if your characters are at a level that they're flying around, stopping the world from being destroyed, there needs to be enough geographic space between one disaster to another to prevent society and living creatures basically on the planet from having system shock from so much world catastrophic shit going on all the time. There has to be space between event horizons. Otherwise, it's just a giant big black death hole, you know? So having fast travel across one world, if you don't travel across, if you're always on the same world, but you have fast airship travel, the distance between threat zones decreases. So you have different types of threats. You have geographic threats, which is the amount of area that they can actually control physically themselves, like a dragon or a clan of stone giants or whatever it is. There's only so much space that they can control at once. But there's also the issue of mobility, of how far away, like they can affect like maybe a 50-mile zone around them if they've set up shop for a season. But just on the go while traveling around, if they're unanchored and just nomad, then they're only going to have maybe like a 5-mile effective reach, because that's the stuff that they can just easily get to over the course of a normal day. So it's a different sort of effect area given different types of creatures and where are they at and how much time do they have to establish themselves. So that helps create a different style of play where you've got targets that are in motion and you have targets that are settled and starting to build a resource base around them. So you can look at these as different current threats or potential threats, and are they focusing on mobility, which can be like ideas and commerce. Like if think Civ 5. If you wear the civilization, like the Sid Meier Civ 5 hat for a few minutes and think about if I was a dragon and I was laying anchor into a swamp, and it's a 200-mile swamp with a number of fishing communities that dot along the edges of it. How would I go about taking control of that area and making sure that I have resources coming in consistently to make the lair worth the investment, right? So that starts to speak to how is the dragon going to recruit, enforce, and extort resources from the surrounding communities, and what kind of trouble is that going to draw in an effort to slay it. That becomes your campaign hooks based on these moving power centers. But you need a resource forex management system that can easily be stapled over the top of whatever 5e or other style of game that you're playing. As long as it's D20, it should work. But I just got to figure out where that's going to go and what we're going to do with it. Looking forward to it, though, that's for sure. It'll be fun. My plan, it's 7:30 now here in Seattle. My plan is to go till 9 o'clock this morning and then take a break and then come back maybe like around noon. So on 3 hours, off 3 hours, on 3 hours, noon till 3. That'll cap my day. And then I've got family time tonight, and then I'll be back tomorrow morning. I can do another 6 hours on stream tomorrow and on Friday. Oh God, what is this? This is Tuesday. Yeah, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll have the same cadence. 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 3 hours on, 3 hours off. That would take us to 6 o'clock. And then on Thursday, when I would normally have my evening stream, then I'll have that at my normal time at 7 o'clock. So 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 3 hours on, 4 hours off, 2 hours on. And then Friday comes around, 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 3 hours on. And we'll work on our midday. We'll work. I can rotate between obviously Spelljammers here in the morning, and we can do both. This afternoon we'll do Eberron tokens. Tomorrow we'll do martial powers, probably campaign design. Thursday. That'd be Wednesday. On Thursday, let's see, Spelljammer in the morning. Maybe we start doing character design. We'll do optional characters. Yeah, we'll do pre-made character, martial power, and pre-made third level characters. We'll start doing that. Wait. So on Wednesday, when we do martial powers, we'll be continuing to convert the guilds of the guilds of Ravnica into the power system. So we'll finish that on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Thursday night we'll do Eberron Art, and then we come back on Friday, we'll do Spelljammer, and then during lunch, whatever grabs my attention on the later half on Friday. And then Saturday we'll have our development stream like usual, which will be the Ravnica Hex Crawl, continuing to develop that. And I keep calling it different things, so whatever. It's a lot of stuff. The martial power playtest content is probably the most efficient way to say that. There, that's what we needed to do. Very good, very good, very good. Very, 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 very good. Put this down like that. Put a gun pod in here. Yeah, that feels right. Yeah, that's pretty good. Hey there, Timely Timer. All right, I'm going to take a sip of some coffee here. Take a quick shallow break for myself. I'm going to have a Discord server up and running later on today. Before
by the time I'm back up and running, one of the home tasks I have to perform during my block of time off in about, I'll be on for another hour and a half, and then I'll bounce for a few hours. But I'm setting up my Discord server for public and sending out invites to folks, and then I'll start including my Discord in my description and my morning intros to invite folks to swing by and kick it out with us. Because we got the Martial Powers playtest that we're going to be doing. I've got folders set up for the different things that I've built, and I'm still fleshing out community channels like homebrew channels and like general chat and all that stuff. I'm still figuring out how I want to organize all that stuff. I'm not very keen on having AI art. Like I'm not, as an artist myself that sells art, I'm not particularly interested in having an AI channel on my Discord. So I need to figure out a way to be polite about that, or consider whether it's actually a problem or not. Like, people can always post AI art. Like, just because I don't personally have a taste for it doesn't mean it's not a valid topic of conversation. Maybe I'll just do a maker's corner and like just have a note taste like, yeah, that's, I don't know, a free for all. Who knows? But yeah, I'm sussing that stuff out. But it'll be up and running. It'll have a soft launch today. And then by end of week, I anticipate it being up and running to the general public. Working that angle, there's so little pixels, it's so perfect. There we go. Man, I hope folks had a really good holiday. I had a great time. There's much firewood burned and much steak grilled, and couch time and puddles of love, and it was just radiant. I hope everyone else had the opportunity to be with people that they care about or felt care for themselves, if not. My gal was sick, so we ended up doing a lot of napping. A lot of napping and nursemaiding. Totally worth. Caring for a loved one is such a unique act of devotion. To be nursing and helping care for the needs of somebody that is damaged and down. It is a very seasonal. It's very appropriate for the season to be caring for those that are hurt. I think it was a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to embrace that on my couch. So. gun on there. There we go. Brup, brup, brup. Here. Good enough. Why so unconfident, Phil? Where's that down? Cut, paste. Back. Rough. Next. Let's put that galleon back on page here so we can keep our sense of proportion. It's such a little tiny little illustration. It's so cute. God, these guys are badass. I fucking love Squadrons, man. That's so cool. Feels like the right angle. Here to here, here to here, then here to here, here to here. Proportions are a little off though. I need to trim those up. Nope. Interesting. Let's grab that and just push it down. I think we can probably skew that into the right shape. Just about. Not bad. Distort just a touch to pull that back, and that's fucking perfect. Nice. Nice job. All right, let's do that there. This shouldn't be. It's 50 feet. Okay, so this block here from here to basically from here to here is 50 feet, and here to here is 50 feet, and here to here is 50 feet, roughly, like just vaguely. So I know I want to reduce the size of these a touch, but they need to be larger than that. There we go. That just about fits, right? Yeah. And then we can cut across here with the shape of the boat to get the angles on how well these are cleaving into the side of the vessel. Get that like proper like that. So ultimately, that's what we're trying to express here. But I think we can pull that off. You could have an extra couple of guys that are hanging out here, and then have a rope, the grappling hook. And as these ships strafe by, throw grappling hooks on
So you can dump crew off and they can start climbing up the board while the remaining fighter craft buzz off and float back around for another rake. And since they're such cheap vessels, it's easy for pirates or raiders to grab a slew of them. A dozen of them wouldn't cost much. Let's see. So we're just going to work on the line art today, and then we'll work on laying in color flats and detailing the arrows tomorrow. If we're swift, we may be working on the galleon by Thursday or Friday, and then possibly done by this time next week. And then working on the last combat illustration by this time next week, maybe like Tuesday or Wednesday next week. This is a much simpler composition than the previous gunner ship, the gunners that we were illustrating. Those aren't done yet, but essentially they're done. I just have to do detail and texture, and I didn't want to. It felt stagnant online, so I wanted to start up this new piece just to keep things moving forward and have a new point of interest. But it'll be done. It'll be done soon enough. I'll work on it off screen during the next week or so, probably. Just give it some breathing room so that I can appreciate it again when I approach, get it finished up. They can't all be natural 20s. Some pictures just aren't going to be as good as others, and that's just something I have to accept. And I've got two pictures that just feel like they're less than the others, and I won't point them. Oh, maybe three pictures that I'm not. Yeah, I got three pictures in here that I'm not truly content with. And I won't bother. I think I've bitched about them enough in the past that if you're a regular of the channel, you probably know what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to point them out specifically for those that aren't. When you go through the document, you may have your own opinion. But having said that, we have some real bangers too. There's some really, really good artwork that we've created in this book. I'm really proud of. And the overall objective of creating more technical, like more architecturally sound illustrations, less sketchiness to it as I scratch in a circle here underneath this aerocraft. But despite that, I think the structural precision I think is better on a lot of these pieces than I've depicted in previous works. So I'd say overall, as far as like mechanical skill, I've upgraded during this project, which was one of the goals, is to allow myself enough time and development to feel more comfortable with architecture and engineering illustrations than simple organic and landscape stuff.
Just want to get these lines in here. Sit comfortably. I can feel myself fighting them. Just let her do it. Thank you. Thank you, baby. She knows all the angles. Hell yeah. That's my girl. That is my girl. Do it again, Kundal. Yes, yes, yes. There we go. Curve this over to the side. That. Nice. Good work, Al. Good. Good angles, Gal. Good. That. Keep it going because it's snowing. Water chaser. Now that angle's off. Let's fix it. There we go. Not quite. There. Very good. Next. Like that. Nice. That was easy. shape. Merge that down. Let's put the roofs on all these things. Tops. Top, 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 top. That. So much easier to resize them down and up, so it's totally worth just to be able to build them out like however they need to be, and then we'll be able to resize them. The angle is the only thing that's really important right now. Dudes like that running around. Zoom. Zoom, 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 zoom. It's pretty cool. I think it's really cool. So let's get that out of the way and let's see. Good. And here, let's see. Let's put these guys out. Maybe like that. Yeah, that feels better. It feels pretty good there. I need to reduce this down. So I'm going to change, I'm going to nudge up, skew up its nose just a touch to get in line. Yeah, it feels like a pretty good line there. It's a good strafe. It's also oversized, so I can drop these things down. a great little strafer on all of it. Better. Good. Beep, beep, beep. Let's merge that down there and then here. Just keep hammering through this. Place. Nice. It needs to be more circular because more of its underbelly is exposed, so it has to be more wing. There has to be more blade that is visible. Easy peasy. So I completely just disappeared there. I just fell through space and time. Don't mind me, folks. There we go. Good. Very, very, very minuscule art here. Hardly important. I'm certain, but it's the it's just caring for the craft. That's what we're doing here, basically. It's just honoring it with the same love and attention that we would give any of the other pieces, despite their small stature. Ish. Yeah, I still got 40 minutes. So it looks like we're going to hit our mark on doing line art for the piece finished today. So we'll be able to come back in and do all the color blocking tomorrow and the background. And then on Thursday, we should be able to finish detail on the arrows and start in on the galleon details. And then, God's willing, finish the details on Friday. If that's the case, then we'll be able to start up the final combat piece, which is a boarding scene, on Monday from now. New Year's. I think I'm here on New Year's. I don't know yet. I'm not 100%. I may or may not be online on the 1st, depending on what the family's got going on. Almost there. Stay on target. Zoom, zoom, zoom. These things are fun. Like little speed cycles. Hey there, Timely Timer. Thank you. Keep going. Man, it's nice to be out working on the last one of these. Come on, buddy. Thank you. Thank you. There. Good enough. Little kickstand landing gear. Basically what this is. It just drops down to you, like you got this bowl at the back end of it, and you got this little kickstand that just drops down to stabilize it. Very simple. It also acts as an easy clip for latching on to any kind of a hanger clip underneath ships for deployment as part of a squadron. Basically, clip-on fighter craft. Fun, 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 fun. All right, it's pretty good. There we go. Cool. All right. So those are pretty good. All right. duplicate. I'm going to merge. Drop this down. There we go. Bruh. 820. Cool. All right, let's get after it. That's a pretty good angle. There. Here to here, there. Curve it out, perfect. Perfect. Here. Good. Curve in there, right? Get that structure good, like that. Crosshatch feels pretty good. I like that. And I like that. Good.
coffee pot's in the background huffing at me. What's going on back there, buddy? You okay? Yeah, buddy. Chortle, chortle. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Pin that out a bit. There. I feel like I need to have my muse step it perfect. Thanks, girl. Cool, that looks good. Good. Not that this mass, not that the rudder matters at all in space, but once you land in water and you want to, toot around like you're a normal boat, then obviously it becomes really important. That feels pretty good. Good. Very good, very good, very good, very, 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 very good. All right, I'm at the sales. Let's build up some motivation here, make that happen. There we go. Have this go like that. So here's the middle of the deck here. Here. Like that. So that's where my second mast is at. My third. This one's on a tilt. I need to fix that. Transform. Tilt. Perfect. There you go. That's where my 3 masts are at. And then this one. This one. Like that. Let's push this down a little bit further. Get that noise out of the way. There's that. Right, there's this. I'm gonna trim that here. There. Like that. I'm gonna drop that down into obscurity like that, and then we've got the boat, we get the masts, we get the cross beams. Base, mass, beams, sails. There we go. More sails. Let's get these fleshed out first before we destroy them. Down. Where's down? Raise that up a bit. Oops. Off the ends. There we go. Just like that. Good. Okay, cool. So we can have all that. And now we have the strafing. So let's see. We can do about across like that. And then we need to slash up the nails. Shit. There. It's tattered here. So this is where it's going to blow loose. That remains intact. There. That's how it should look. Like that. And this one tore here. So this one will flow out. Here. Yeah, okay. Here. Glass detail. Buttressing here. Cool. We can start converting all these little bits into actual details.
time is it? Okay, I still got 2 minutes. It's not perfect, but it's good enough, I think, at this point for us to start laying in color. We'll have little details like figuring out the planks along the frame here, for instance. That'll be useful. Possibly integrate some filigree into this without overburdening ourselves. I don't like how it's sitting so far. It's got some fun character to it without overwhelming it, you know? Fun. That's some fun little filigree work there, and we can build in the beams for the actual planks on the boat. We can integrate into this like that. I'll have to suss them out, but see if we can real quick. Just thread these things here. Maybe here, and here, and here. Trying to find the organic shape inside here. Nope, I need to do it from this direction. Kind of like that.
There we go. That's pretty good. Yeah. Get a curve going through here. Nice. That's some good curvage, man. I like that line work. So let's see if I can get this built out here real quick like this. We can get rid of that. We don't need to have a ballista sticking over the edge. We know where we're at. There. Okay, cool. That's enough detail work, I think, for us to, once we start doing these arrows, to start cutting it up. So when we come back tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and stitch up for now. We're going to log out for now. When we come back in about 3 hours, we'll do some Eberron token art. And when we're back tomorrow morning, we're going to do another 3-hour block tomorrow. We're going to block in all the color for the arrows and the ship, and then splash in the background using the reference images that we have here and bloop, bloop, here are our reference images for us to be able to build in the skyscape and the ships themselves. That means that we'll probably, once we block in the vessel and the aero fighter craft, we should be able to resolve detail for the aerocraft tomorrow as well, which starts a 3-hour block. So Jesus, yeah. So we should be able to get everything blocked in and detail complete for the aero, and then we'll have so it'll be tomorrow, and then by Thursday we'll be doing detail on the galleon, and probably have it finished by Friday. Yeah, and then we'll start on the next piece next Monday, and we'll be back to our normal schedule, assuming that I'm here on Monday on the 1st. If I'm not, I'll start up on Tuesday. Whatever we can do. But yeah, so we got that going on. I'll be back in about 3-ish some odd hours to continue working on Eberron token art, so you can catch up with me there. And thanks a lot for everyone that's checking this stuff out. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. This book should be publishing in late January. And so we'll have a Discord channel up later on today. You guys can start jumping in and hanging out if you want. So we'll see you guys there. Thanks a lot. Laters.